Welcome to Global Insights Watch, your source for deep dives into geopolitical shifts. In today's episode, we unpack the U.S.'s diplomatic purge involving a China-linked scandal, China's sweeping export curbs on critical materials, Russia's threats over potential Tomahawk missiles, and how all this ties into global tensions. I'm Atik. Let's begin. A new controversy has rocked Washington. The U.S. State Department fired a diplomat for concealing a romantic relationship with a Chinese national alleged to have ties to the Chinese Communist Party. This marks the first enforcement under a recently introduced rule banning government personnel from such relationships in China. President Trump and Secretary of State Rubio emphasized national security as the basis for zero tolerance. China responded with restraint, no official comment, but criticized the framing of the matter as ideological. This incident further escalates tensions between Washington and Beijing, placing personal and diplomatic boundaries in a new spotlight. China has announced export restrictions on artificial diamonds, rare earths, and high-tech materials set to take effect in November. These materials are crucial in semiconductor manufacturing, quantum devices, and military tech. Beijing argues these curbs are necessary to protect national security and prevent military use by foreign actors. This move comes as the U.S.-China tariff truce deadline approaches, signaling renewed economic tension behind the scenes. Meanwhile, China is intensifying controls over rare earth exports broadly, including newly regulated elements and technologies. Analysts say China is leveraging its dominance in this sector to strengthen bargaining power, especially as global demand for clean energy and defense tech soars. Across Europe, U.S. consideration of sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine has triggered sharp Russian backlash. Russia cautioned that enabling long-range strikes into Russian territory could pull NATO directly into conflict. Deputy Foreign Minister Ryabkov accused U.S. of escalation, warning retaliation could target logistics hubs. Analysts note that Tomahawks, with up to 1,550-mile range, could significantly reshape battlefield dynamics if used by Ukraine. Russia's response underscores growing unease over Western intervention and the integration of long-range weapons into the regional balance. In a surprising twist, Russia gave cautious support to a Gaza ceasefire proposal between Israel and Hamas. Kremlin spokesman Peskov described the development as broadly positive, but stressed action would matter more than words. Putin has engaged with Netanyahu by phone, discussing the Middle East and the Trump plan to end the Gaza war. Foreign Minister Lavrov praised the proposal as the best option on the table, though he criticized its vagueness around statehood. Russia now positions itself as a diplomatic player in the Middle East, seeking to balance influence across all sides. New allegations have surfaced. Ukraine's intelligence claims China is providing satellite data to Russia to aid missile strikes. The targeting includes foreign investment sites in Ukraine, adding layers to the conflict. This claim, if verified, suggests deeper military technical cooperation between China and Russia. It raises questions about how far Beijing is willing to lean into direct involvement. Meanwhile, global pressure intensifies. The U.S. and allies are exploring new sanctions on China and Russia over their roles in this war. The interplay between military support, supply chains, and intelligence sharing may define the next phase of this global conflict. The European Union and allied nations are pressing harder on Russia. Sanctions are biting. But President Trump remains unpredictable. He continues to keep allies guessing on whether to intensify sanctions. In the U.S., a proposed bill, the Sanctioning Russia Act of 2025, seeks to impose severe tariffs and penalties on nations that purchase Russian energy. China is also in the crosshairs. U.S. sanctions target Chinese firms allegedly providing drone technology and components to Russia. The next moves will alter leverage in Washington's relationships with Moscow and Beijing. The stakes are higher than ever. At the 16th BRICS Summit, China and Russia reaffirmed deep strategic ties, promising stronger alignment and greater integration in global trade frameworks. Earlier this year, Chinese President Xi Jinping made a state visit to Russia, reinforcing the diplomatic and military relationship. Analysts suggest their unified front is not just economic, it's geostrategic. As the U.S. confronts both, Washington must manage competition across multiple fronts. In the coming weeks, watch for U.S.-China summit outcomes, sanction leaks and counters, military procurement shifts, intelligence leaks and alliances. These will signal who gains or loses in this new era of superpower competition. We've journeyed across multiple fronts today: U.S.-China scandals, export wars, Russia's missile temper, Gaza ceasefire hopes, and covert intelligence ties. These aren't isolated headlines. They're threads in a global fabric of power, influence, and confrontation. If there's one thing to remember, the relationships between Washington, Moscow, and Beijing are redefining the future of geopolitics. I'm Atik, and you were watching Global Insights Watch. If you liked this analysis, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for daily updates. Next time, we'll dig into emerging conflicts, defense tech, and strategic maneuverings around the globe. Until then, stay informed.